All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this village board meeting to order on Monday, December 18, 2023. And we've got a very special group of young men joining us this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and to present the colors. And so I'd like to introduce those from PAC 269 out of Patton, Greenbrier schools, and perhaps Westgate and maybe a couple others. But we very much appreciate their presence with us this evening. Their leaders are Matt Bennett and Eric Funk. And the scouts who are with us tonight are Leo Bennett, Fitz Funk, Brady Goines, Nicholas Jarvis, Daniel Larson, Bennett Lee, Thomas Ostendorf, Andrew Spitz, Jason Spitz, Grayson Zurek, LJ Fasolo, and Anthony Husko. So with that, guys, if you take it away, please.
Color guard, attention, audience, please rise. Color guard, forward march. Scout salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Color guard, halt. Color guard, cross the colors. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard, post the flag of the village of Arlington Heights. Color guard, honor your colors. Please recite to the Pledge of Allegiance. All scouts and audience, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, return to ranks. Color guard, about face. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, at ease. Audience, please be seated.
Let's give them a round of applause. Thanks again to PAC 269 for joining us this evening. Great way to start the meeting tonight. With that, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Shirley.
Here.
Trustee Bertucci.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
Trustee Dunnington.
Here.
Trustee Grasse.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we have two sets to approve tonight. One is from the committee of the whole meeting from November 15, 2023. Are there any changes or passes?
Pass.
Passed by Trustee Baldino.
I'll move to approve the committee of the whole minutes for November 15th, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Grasse, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we've got the village board meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2023. Any changes or passes? If not, is there a motion?
Move approval of the village board minutes from December 3rd, 2023.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Anything else from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next we move on to the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on Trustee Bertucci.
I'll move that we approve the warrant register for the check dated 12/15/2023 in the amount of $4,768,015.01.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Bertucci, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Bertucci.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Grasse.
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington.
Yes.
Trustee Shirley.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, next under recognitions and presentations, we've got a very special award to present tonight. The Cultural Arts Award celebrates achievements by outstanding artists in the village of Arlington Heights who have created a substantial body of work in their field. The goal of the award is to assist in building on the sense of pride and community in the village and among artists, among local artists in particular. To present the award this evening, we have our chairwoman of the Arts Commission, Kristen Schertz. Kristen, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having us. Good evening, everyone. The recipient of the 2023 Cultural Arts Award is Sarah Wade. Sarah Wade is the creator and artistic director of Harmony Youth Theater. Harmony Youth Theater is a not-for-profit based in Arlington Heights that brings quality fine arts education to students in Arlington Heights and the surrounding areas. Harmony Youth Theater strives to create inclusive educational experiences for creative youth, ensuring all children are included. Sarah's goal is to develop children's talents in all aspects of theater to increase expression, strengthen creative thinking, enhance teamwork, and bolster self-confidence. Sarah is a dedicated, student-centered teacher and director who has a passion for the fine arts. Sarah holds a master's degree in directing from the Theater Conservatory at Roosevelt University. Sarah studied improvisational acting at Second City's Players Workshop. While receiving her master's in directing, Sarah studied with directors from the Steppenwolf Theater, the Goodman Theater, and the Chicago Shakespeare Theater. Sarah has experience in directing and producing shows at the elementary, junior, and high school levels. She has worked with students ranging from preschool through high school for the last 20 years. Along with her training, Sarah has taught in the public and private schools since 2001 and holds a secondary teaching certificate through the state of Illinois. Currently, Sarah is the theater director for District 214's John Hersey High School. During the past 2 years, she has volunteered her skill set at St. James School in Arlington Heights on the middle school musicals Frozen and Seussical. She has taught in districts such as High School District 214, Highland Park District 112, Lake Zurich District 95, and St. Mary's in Buffalo Grove. Sarah currently serves on the executive board and as registrar for Music for Youth, which is a parent-run, not-for-profit corporation that partners with School District 25, offering a Suzuki-based stringed instrument program for the violin, viola, and cello. Previously, she was the department head of musical theater at Metropolis School of the Performing Arts. Sarah Wade has been a resident of Arlington Heights for 20 years. She currently has 4 children who attend Olive Mary Stitt and Hersey High School. Along with establishing Harmony Youth Theater in Arlington Heights, she has worked locally at Metropolis School for the Performing Arts and at Hersey High School. I am proud to present the 2023 Cultural Arts Award on her behalf of the Arlington Heights Arts Commission to Sarah Wade. Sarah, please come forward.
Yes, I'm not very comfortable being in the spotlight. I'm more comfortable being in the wings cheering on my students. But I do want to say thank you so much for this recognition. I've dedicated my adult career to creating music and theater opportunities for kids in our community, and it just means so much to me. So thank you for recognizing me. And thank you to my family for coming out and supporting me tonight, and also just in general. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Sarah? There comes Well, before you sit down, let me just thank not only you, Sarah, and congratulate you for all the great work that you have done for our community and for kids especially, and so congratulations. But also to our Arts Commission. And so we've got a couple of members here, Kristen and Janet, a longtime member. How many years have you been serving on it?
Since 2009.
Okay, so a long time.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, and
Good
so
math.
our Arts Commission does great work. And so We very much value your contributions to the quality of life in Arlington Heights. And Derek Mock, our liaison, our staff liaison to the Arts Commission for many, many years. And so we thank you, Derek, as well for your leadership and liaison efforts with the Arts Commission. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Let's give him another round of applause. Right, there are no other recognitions or presentations, so we'll move on then to citizens to be heard. And this is an opportunity for members of the audience to address the board on items not on the agenda. And so you are limited to 3 minutes in length, and so we'd appreciate your cooperation with that. And I do have just one blue card, and that's from Judy Bonardi. Judy?
Good evening. Thank you all for your service to the community. My name is Judy Bernardi. I live at 1 South Highland, Unit 301. I've lived in Arlington Heights close to 50 years, most of my life. I'm a 78-year-old widow of limited financial resources. I moved into my condo during COVID in 2020. I love my home, but only 5 days a week. 2 and sometimes 3 times a week, it is impossible to sleep because of noise lasting until 2 a.m. That's created by Arlington Ale House, which borders my condo and is separated by a wall by this much. I've notified all the authorities, including police, the health department, mayor, village manager, and a trustee, as well as the owner of the ale house. Nobody took the bother to come and listen to the noise other than the police. This pounding noise coming through my walls renders my condominium uninhabitable, affecting me both physically and mentally. When I moved in, the problem didn't exist. I do deserve to be able to sleep 7 nights a week. When the trustees granted the 2 a.m. license, it appears this situation wasn't given proper consideration as to how it would affect the adjacent residential unit. On Friday, December 15th, I met with Kevin McCaskey, owner of the Ale House, and Michael Mertis, Business Development Manager, Arlington Heights. Well, the opportunity to discuss my needs and those of Mr. McCaskey were appreciated. Their interests were not aligned with mine. I appeal to you trustees as elected officials entrusted with the duties of policymakers to know and give consideration to this very difficult and stressful situation. Again, thank you for your time and service.
Judy, thank you. I am certainly aware of your situation, and the village manager has kept me apprised of the efforts, which some of which you've outlined here this evening. And so the village is very aware, and I know Mr. Reckloss in particular has taken a number of different steps. And so, Randy, I don't know if you want to say anything further.
Sure. No, and I did speak with Ms. Bernardi, I think twice last week, and then we facilitated the meeting with the Ale House ownership and Michael Mertis to kind of talk about those issues. You know, we're trying to work through them, and Mr. McCaskey has indicated a willingness to identify potential improvements to help mitigate the situation. From just a regulatory standpoint, the Ale House is not breaking any any village codes. They're operating in the same capacity as they have and as other businesses with the same licenses do downtown. But given the uniqueness of the circumstance, I did talk to Mr. McCaskey and kind of explain the uniqueness of the situation, and he agreed to meet, and he's agreeing to explore options that help mitigate the situation, hopefully to to everyone's satisfaction, but it's still very much a work in progress.
Right, okay. Thank you, Mr. Eckloss. I know, Judy, it's a very unfortunate but very unique situation that
Yes,
you
it is.
find yourself in. And so we are doing all we can to see if there is a solution that can be amenable to everybody. So thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you. May I ask one question? I don't know, I've been told that there's not really a specific noise ordinance, and I'm wondering if you're working on that?
Well, we're not, Mr. Eckloss, I don't know if you want to address that.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at a noise ordinance, but I don't think this situation would necessarily address it, because Mr. McCaskey, the ale house is licensed for that use. And so the issue is generally whether or not things can be done to mitigate the transference of noise between your unit and his. And so that's really the question. We are looking at a noise ordinance broadly, but that probably would be more generally applicable to people making noises in like residential neighborhoods and things like that. Whereas when you're in a mixed-use district, there typically is going to be entertainment and things of that nature. But right now, that's what we're trying to focus on, is to see if we can encourage Mr. McCaskey, and he seems to be willing to explore things to minimize that transference of noise.
Okay, Trustee Bertucci?
Yeah, so Randy, I have a question. It's often talked about that there isn't a noise but in fact there is. We do have a noise ordinance. We have adopted the state, which says that it can't go beyond the boundaries of the property. And is that in the residential area only?
It has to be defined as a nuisance. And that's the challenge, is there's latitude given to the police department and the health department to determine whether something is deemed a nuisance or is deemed, reasonable. And that's how kind of the current regime is set up. We are looking at other options for noise. It can be very difficult to have a very specific noise ordinance, and that's why this has taken some time. What one person deems offensive, other people may think is totally fine. You can get into details like having noise meters where it's X number of decibels, and that stuff can be tricky as well and is dependent on when you get there. I don't know if Mr. Passman, you want to comment any further on the...
No, I think that's well said. There are different models out there. There are no perfect ones of which I'm aware of. I know it's something that staff is looking into, how to properly gauge what should be impermissible based on a lot of the same factors that the managers mentioned.
Well, I mean, this often comes up even in the residential, from resident to resident. Right. And when I read that code, the state code, I clearly read it as saying that if it goes beyond your property and the sound is into another property, then therefore it's against the state code, which we've adopted. But I'm going to leave it up to you, Hart, and I know you guys will figure that out.
We'll continue to look into it, and we'll give that a further look, Trustee Bertucci.
Right. Now, in reference to Judy's situation, obviously there was the building was built, obviously, as you had mentioned, wall to wall, obviously to your unit. Mm-hmm. Do we know what is that cinder blocks, concrete? Is there a way we could that can be filled with some sound deadening material?
I think that's part of Mr. McCaskey's analysis, is looking at what can be done to mitigate the noise transference, and that's part of what he's looking at right now as the property owner.
Okay. I think I can answer that. My neighbor across the hall from me is an original owner, and as the building was being built, he said he was over there all the time to see the construction of the building, and he said it's cinder block in between, and I think some kind of wire or something, so it's hollow.
Okay, well, options are being explored, so we thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Okay.
All right, if there are no other individuals who want to address the board on items not on the agenda, I'll go ahead and close the citizens to be heard portion and move on then to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the audience wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any members of the board wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee Shirley?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Move on then to new business, and we do have a request for a new development in Arlington Heights. The Arlington Gateway development to be located at 111 East Algonquin Road and 2355 South Arlington Heights Road. This is for a plan unit development for mixed-use development, rezoning, and preliminary plat of subdivision and variations. And so we've got the petitioner here this evening. Good to see you again. You were here for early review back a number of months ago, and so welcome back. And anxious to hear where we're at in the process, so please proceed.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Rozak. I'm an architect and developer. I'm here with my two partners, Mike Mosseri and Paul Bollier, both architects and developers as well. We have Bruce Huvard, our zoning attorney here, and also Brian Carley, our partner with Bradford Allen. So thanks again for meeting with us again. We just went through the design commission and the plan commission and got approval, so now we're in front of you, and appreciate your time. I'd like to show the videos. By the way, can you hear me?
Yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
So we have four videos that we're going to show you just to give you a sense of the kind of the project. And this is kind of, imagine you're Superman flying along Algonquin Road, and you see the development from above. And now we're turning on Tunney Road, and you see the 8-story building. This is 301 apartments and retail. And again, now we're flying along the access road that we're building, and you see there's a 4th floor amenity space with a pool and other amenity spaces, and get a little detail of the building. We'll go into more detail. This just gives you kind of an overview. And then back to Arlington Heights Road and some of the retail components. And then this is the corner of Algonquin and Arlington Heights Road. In the corner with the obelisk focal point. The next slide, or excuse me, the next video is imagine yourself walking around the project, and now we're going to be going westerly along Algonquin Road, and here's kind of the scale that you feel as a pedestrian or driving in a vehicle, and you see the 8-story building, a lot of lush landscaping. Coming around, we're contemplating a retail space there on the corner, that obelisk with a focal point, lots of landscaping. And then more retail along Arlington Heights Road. We're envisioning maybe a pizzeria, florist, cafe. Now down the access road. Some of the access points into the development. And then back to Tunney. And back to Algonquin Road. And then the next video, these are all very short. The next video is a walkthrough. Imagine walking into the front door of the project. So we have this green portal that kind of signifies the entrance. And whether you're driving in a car or walking in, it's a covered entryway, which is really nice. We have a nice little artwork throughout, nice tile detailing coming into the front door. And this is the lobby and leasing center. So the property manager would be there in the leasing center. There's a view of the lobby. We have co-working spaces, the mail area towards the back there. Very hospitality-like. Imagine you're in a hotel. And then you continue to the elevators, and that would take you up if you're a resident, either to the parking or the residents themselves. Then the last video just highlights some of the amenities. So this is on the 4th floor, and we're entering the amenity space, and we have kind of a TV theater area, indoor-outdoor spaces, lounge spaces. We have more co-working spaces, billiards. We have a catering kitchen. We have a golf simulator, ping pong. And then we continue down this entryway into the exterior amenities. And here we have outdoor dining, grilling stations. We have kind of lounging areas with fire pits. And then now we're going to kind of float up to the pool area. And there's a pool and a spa here. And now you kind of see the full view. Again, lush landscaping everywhere. Lots of details, really kind of rich materials. And top of the market amenities for our future residents. Now we're actually going to go back in just to look at the workout and aerobic and lifting areas. So it's part of this same area, and we have kind of fitness area, and then weightlifting areas, stretching, yoga, etc. So if we can go back to the slides. So we're doing this project with Bradford Allen. We're the architect and developer. This is kind of our area of expertise. We do multifamily apartment buildings. We've done a lot recently in Chicago. We just finished Full Bricks, which is a 27-story building, 375 units in Fulton Market, 375 units, including 20% affordable. Very proud of that. And we're currently about 72% leased, and just one of our recent projects. But this is kind of what we do with mixed use retail in kind of urban areas. So the next slide.
So Tom, there should be a remote on the podium there. You can kind of go at your own speed.
All right. So this is our project. It's an 8-story building. 301 multifamily units. There are 4 rent apartments. The architecture, the facades and the massing will have a contextual, welcoming and dynamic design and physical features in conformance with the new overlay district. We have verdant landscaping, including shade trees, ornamental trees, perennials and annuals. We actually have 2 butterfly gardens. The project will transform this 3.8 acre lot that's currently has 1 to 5-story vacant and dilapidated buildings into an eco-friendly, attractive residential complex. It will spark new retail and streetscape vibrancy in this part of Arlington Heights. Arlington Heights needs more quality housing, and we are going to provide that. The overlay district seeks to comply with ordinance in terms of our building seeks to comply with the ordinance in terms of use, height, bulk, setbacks, unit density, and parking requirements. The overlay district and our project focuses on beautification, redevelopment, walkability, and placemaking. We are creating a place. Bradford Allen, over several years, has put this together, and now we're partnering with them to complete the vision. Next slide. We have, just to show you kind of the overall concept. So at the very top is, in the corner is Algonquin and Arlington Heights Road. Thank you. That's phase one. That's the project we're going to be talking about today. That's 301 units, 8 stories. And this contemplates, this site plan contemplates 2 more residential phases. Phase 2, which is at the bottom of the sheet, is the old Daily Herald building, which Bradford Allen is going to be renovating into medical offices and new parking. Phase 3, which is the Guitar Center, thank you, is contemplates another 300 units with more retail space. We envision, hopefully someday in phase 3, to actually have a grocery store. Phase 4, which is to the west there, envisions more apartments and a hotel. And again, we're going to work out the details of phases 3 and 4 in the future, but this just kind of shows you a vision for the complete 16 acres. I think you all know the location. Again, Algonquin Road and Arlington Heights Road. It's the southeast corner there. And in red, the dotted area is the site of, excuse me, phase 1. Just below that is the Guitar Center. Just to the east is the Lincoln Atrium condominium, office condominium. And then to the bottom of the site is, again, the Daily Herald. So our project is residential. It's apartments. We have 301 apartments. They start from about 554 square foot studios all the way up to 1,417 square feet, 3 bedrooms. And we have studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s. We have everything to kind of satisfy the market. And the average square footage is about 825 square feet. So we have 49 studios. We have 141 1-bedrooms, 19 1-bedrooms with den, 82 2-bedrooms, and then 10 3-bedrooms. We have 25,000 square feet of retail. We envision a coffee shop, maybe some dining restaurants, and other service-oriented retail uses. We are talking to Guitar Center, possibly having them move to one of the spaces, but that is not official yet. We're super excited about providing affordable housing. So 10% of the units, so 30 out of 301 will be affordable, and they will be on-site, and these will be offered at the requirements of the 60% AMI. We've done affordable housing on previous projects, so we're pretty experienced about making that happen. Amenities. So we have about 21,000 square foot of indoor and outdoor amenities, including an outdoor pool and spa, fitness area, yoga, stretching area. We have golf simulator, social and media rooms. We have work from home conference rooms, which we call co-working spaces. We have a dog walk and a dog spa. And we have trellises, private grilling, catering kitchens, etc. We have 2 butterfly gardens that have native perennials with walking paths on the north and south parts of the development. So here's a site plan. And again, Arlington Heights Road is on the left, and then Algonquin on the top of the sheet. And the new access road is down the bottom of the sheet, and Tunney is to the right. So this shows you the first floor, and the 3 areas in pink are retail. So you have retail A, B, and C. Adds up to about 25,000 square feet of retail. We're very excited and think we can be successful with the retail component of this. We have to be very strategic in terms of what retailers we get in there. We have all the parking that's required for the project, both for the retail component and the residential component. We meet and exceed those requirements. The orange area in the very center is the lobby and amenity areas. The striped area down the center is actually that covered access entry that I showed you on the video. So it's kind of nice. You have a drop-off that's covered. You see all the trees in green, and you see the ornamental trees in orange, and we have a lot of perennials and annuals throughout. We're going to have these kind of really nice welcoming areas at each entry point throughout. So this is going up now. So second through third floors, you see the blue is the residential units themselves, and then we have parking along in the gray. Any roof we have on the lower levels is all green roofs, as well as portions of the top roof are green roofs. We have fenestrated the building in such a way that you don't see any parking from the outside. So all the parking is actually screened in the same manner as all the residential units. So we have the same siding, the same brick, and the same windows, so you can't see in. And obviously we have clear windows on the residential portion, and then in the garage we have just a translucent film on the glass so you can't see the cars inside. Fourth floor, again, all the blue is residential. We have, believe it or not, 50 some unique floor plans. This is done just because you need to meet the requirements of the market, and sometimes a 50 or 100 square foot bump in size satisfies someone's spatial needs, but also their budget. So this is how you really kind of have a proper offering for the market. In orange is the amenity area that I showed you in the video, and blue is obviously the pool. And again, floors 5 through 8 to the top of the building is all residential. So we're going to offer these units at $3 per square foot. So imagine a 500 square foot unit would be about $1,500. A 1,000 square foot unit would be about $3,000. And that's in line with the current market that's in Arlington Heights. We will, again, comply with the affordable housing requirements at 60% AMI. We've done a market study with Integra, who is a specialist and an expert in these matters, and they are advising us that the absorption for a project like this would be somewhere between 12 and 18 months. This building is going to be a sustainable project. We are experienced in these sustainable type of buildings. We're going to be seeking Energy Star certification. This building is 490,000 square feet. It has many energy efficient and eco-friendly strategies that we've designed into it. We have an energy efficient thermal envelope, meaning all the walls and the roof and the foundations are insulated properly. We have interior and exterior lighting that is all LED and is reduced. We have high efficiency plumbing, low VOC materials, heating and cooling that are high performance using heat pumps, electrical charging stations for over 30 stalls, plus more capacity to upgrade in the future. The parking areas that we showed you before actually contain all the stormwater detention. So it doesn't burden the local watershed systems, and that's done and designed with your engineers together. We planted indigenous grasses and perennials throughout, and a lot of outdoor space. We have green roofs, and we have a solar array to reduce the heat island effect. Here's just a sample of some of our units. Again, we have 50 unique units, but this gives you a sample of what we're going to provide to the market. So on the left is a studio plan. It's 530 square feet, and it has obviously a bathroom and kitchen, sleeping area, dining area, living area, and a work area. This one has a balcony as well, and all the units actually have this, but it just gets a little bit larger as the square footage gets larger. So if you look at this one bedroom, all the same components, but here you can see the kitchen has a galley instead of a linear kitchen, and a little bit more closet space, a little bit more living space, but all the components are there. And again, 2-bedroom, again, the same thing. It's like a balloon just expanding a little bit. And then a 3-bedroom. So that's kind of what we're going to be offering the market. Design was very important to make this kind of a successful offering to the market. These units and this building is smart. It'll be desirable in the marketplace. It's straightforward, efficient, well lit, and enjoyable. This will be a catalyst which will contribute to the rejuvenation and safety of this area. It'll transform this area into an attractive community bustling with life, openness, and healthy green space. The project takes on a promising site near I-90, great location. We use high-quality materials and innovative design that enhances the public realm. Pedestrian-friendly and human-scale detailing at the street level will make the experience for the users very positive. A building that has delineated massing enables abundant sunlight to transition graciously across the site. Exterior building facade materials will include fiber cement siding, which I have here. So we have fiber cement siding, we have masonry, and we have glass. So this is the three colors. We have white, gray, and dark gray, and then we have a gray brick, and we have detailing for the windows and the balconies of black, and then we have this green accent piece on the fins and on the portals, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So the selection of these high quality materials and innovative building materials provide architectural delight. We have white chevrons in key parts of the elevations that provide a nice highlight to the other longer elevations, which are delineated with light, medium, and dark grays, providing rhythm and create elegant, proportional, residential scale. The chevron geometry is accented by green fins that are depicted as prairie grass. These chevrons are the key points of the building throughout the building. We have this, and that kind of gives you an accent as you walk around the building, and it gives kind of rhythm to the building. And these accent fins in green are depicting prairie grass, and they're like prairie grass blowing in the wind. The idea comes from the neighboring Busty Woods. We wanted to kind of express healthy living, kind of the future, and that's why we concentrated on the landscaping and some of these architectural design elements that are put into the actual facades, and actually in the interiors we have all these accents of green and so forth. So it's a very kind of cohesive design element, and I think we haven't done it yet, but we're gonna, when we do the marketing name and all the brochures and stuff, it's all gonna be kind of evident. We're going to try to come up with a name that has something to do with nature, prairies, so forth. So the base of the building is anchored with gray brick that complements the smooth siding panels and provides depth and texture. The garage is wrapped in the same material as the rest of the building. The lobby, entrance, and car drop-off area is highlighted with green portal frame to show residents and visitors where the front door is. The top roof is a white reflective roof with large expanses of green plantings and then a solar array. Here's some views of the elevations, which you've seen. And again, the prairie grass kind of accent fins, which are kind of fun. Here's a section that just kind of shows you how the buildings are organized with the blue residential areas on top of the parking, hiding the parking. We have retail in pink, and then the lobby and other amenities in orange. Here's just some views of recent projects that we've done, just to show you the quality of how we design the interior spaces, the amenity spaces, and then the interiors of the apartments themselves. Landscaping is very important to the project, as we said, making it an inviting public realm. We have high-quality materials, lighting, wayfinding, plantings, the obelisk, sculptures. We're going to have 2 in this phase and more in future phases. And that talks to the concept that was done in the overlay district, which is a really cool idea. Again, 2 butterfly gardens. And some of the visuals of the inspiration there. And then these are some of the stills from the video that you saw, again, to show you kind of like how the building looks and feels from the various viewpoints. And I'll go through this a little bit quickly. You've seen it already in the video. I like showing the videos because people get a good sense of that. So we're pursuing a planned development. And again, we appreciate all the hard work that the village has put in and collaborated with us. This is not a project that we did alone. We collaborated with Charles and his whole group, and we appreciate the help, and just the process is really amazing. So this is a B3 in the overlay district, and we're providing a high-quality development that meets all the requirements for 301 units. We have 480 parking spaces for the units. We have 85 parking spaces for the retail. And again, this is phase 1 of 3 residential phases and a 4th medical office phase. Again, some views from the top. You can see the solar array there at the top of the building on portion of it. And we actually just got some proposals from companies to provide that. So we're very excited that this is going to become a real thing. Views, again, looking northeasterly. And this is looking towards I-90 and the Daily Herald building in the back there. We have a great team. We're very experienced at doing this. Bradford Allen is a great company that has the financial resources to be able to execute a project like this. Myself, Mike, and Paul have done 5 big buildings, all $100 million or more just recently, all quite successful and leased up. So this is exactly kind of what we do. And again, in terms of construction, we have Clark Construction, who's our partner on the last 5 projects. They're going to join us again and help us build this thing. We're going to be working with Lincoln Properties and Bradford Allen on the leasing and management. And again, we have the kind of the best consultants that helped us make this project a reality. Here's a couple of views, daytime and a dusk shot of what the obelisk looks like. We had a lot of fun conversations with the design commission about it, and I think they liked it a lot. We like it too. It's kind of cool. If you kind of look at it, it is like a blade of grass, just painted white, but it's very sculptural, and I think it's going to be very beautiful. It's going to be lit up. Here's some views, and again, you saw these in the video, but just the views of the lobby. Again, very hospitality-like, co-working spaces, lots of art. We're going to have 5 original artists in here. I should say 5 artists with original work in this project. Here's the 4th floor amenities again. You saw this. Here's some views of the interiors, again, with some green accents. And then these are literally just straight off the printer very recently. These are not completed yet. They're not brochure quality yet. But this shows you kind of what a studio unit would look like, with the kitchen kind of, to the right, and then the living space and the balcony beyond. And then this is looking the other way. So this is the same studio. And this is a 2-bedroom, again, looking out the windows to show you kind of a sense of what the spaces look like. And that's all I have right now, and I'd be available for questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. As Mr. Rozak mentioned, we have been working with their team for quite a few years now. We first started working with Brad Fell in 2018 when we looked at the South Arlington Heights Road corridor and came up with the South Arlington Heights Road corridor plan. They started acquiring some of the property and assembling it. And then this year, Rozak Mosseri came on board and formed a joint venture with Bradford Allen to move this project forward. It is a gateway site. It's blighted and underutilized property. It's not a great entry to the village right now. So we're very excited to see this, and we believe this can be the catalyst for additional development along South Arlington Heights Road. Specifically, what they're seeking is a plan unit development for the 8-story building. Mr. Rozak has, described the details of that. We did ask them to rezone the property from B3 to B2. B3 is more of an auto-related type zoning district. B2 is more retail, more appropriate for the first floor retail. And then preliminary plat of subdivision. And there are 4 variations, 3 of them dealing with height, and then one, a small variation on some lighting on the south property line. I'll explain that in a minute. So this video shows, how the kind of corridor looks when we first started putting the corridor plan together. As I mentioned, in 2018, we created the study. In 2019, we created an overlay zoning district for this property that set forth building heights and setbacks and things of that nature. And then in 2020, created the South Arlington Heights Road TIF district. And since then, we've been working with Bradford Allen, as I mentioned, and others trying to move this project forward. It has been a collaborative effort. Their first plan they presented, we gave them our preliminary comments. The team came back with 3 different site plans and 3 different models. The department staffs reviewed those, gave them likes and dislikes on those 3 models, and they basically took pretty much all of the good things that we liked about all of them and put them into what you see before you. So it does check pretty much everything in the South Arlington Heights Road corridor that we've asked for. Focal points at the corner of Arlington Heights Road and Algonquin Road and Tony Road and Algonquin Road. It pulls the sidewalk back from the curb where it is right now, a carriage walk, creates a parkway with parkway trees. There'll be an 8-foot multi-use path all the way around the entire site. It meets many of the other requirements of that plan. It's not as tall as what the overlay zoning district would allow, but it still provides sufficient density to kickstart redevelopment in this area. And this goes through how it checks all of those requirements with the exception of the 4 variations that I mentioned. This exhibit shows the setback variations, and I'll briefly describe them. The first is a setback right on this corner for the first floor to encroach into the required 15-foot setback. Is about 12-foot setback. You can see the property line is a little unusual, kicks in, tucks into the property. The blue hatched area on the south, these are the upper story setbacks into the required 50-foot setback. These are on the interior lot line. And the reason why we proposed a 50-foot setback was the original overlay district allowed up to 20 stories. So if you had a 20-story building, we'd want a larger setback. This is an unusual site. It's got angled roadways. We're very comfortable with the request. We think they are minimal to make the project happen, and they're providing all the other attributes such as sustainable features and the required affordable housing. There is one variation for light levels to exceed the candle limit on the property line. This is on the south driveway. So in the area highlighted in red, you can see that's the property line, but it's really a shared driveway. It needs to be lit for access into and out of the site. So technically it needs that variation, but the reality is it should be lit appropriately with the appropriate lighting levels. So there are a number of details that you probably read in the recommendations that still need to be worked out prior to either the final plat of subdivision or prior to the issuance of a permit. There's a number of easements that need to be abrogated and then new easements created. Working with PACE on location of the bus shelter, that's actually ongoing even today. We had some emails back and forth with PACE on that. Streetscape improvements, including the pedestrian decorative crossings across Arlington Heights Road and Algonquin Road. Having the developer work with us on those final designs prior to submitting to IDOT for those permits, and then a few other things. Relative to traffic, for this first phase, there's just some minor traffic enhancements that are needed at the signal of Tony Road and Algonquin Road. At full build-out that was described of all 4 phases, there would need to be more significant improvements at Tony Road. This exhibit, we asked them to prepare to show how that could work. There would be a requirement for dual left turn lanes, northbound and southbound. As I mentioned, that would be in future phases, and there is a condition that deals with this that requires that these improvements be designed and built at the appropriate time, and the cost sharing relative to that for the different portions of the property. Relative to parking, they do exceed our parking requirements for both the residential portion and the commercial. We do have some conditions that deal with shared parking, deal with allowing some customer parking in the garage and making sure that garage is designed appropriately with where private access is inside the garage. So some of that first floor garage space could be used for commercial uses if needed. So with that, staff recommended approval, and the Design Commission concurred with a 7-0 vote for recommend approval with 22 conditions. I won't read those, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have on those at the appropriate time. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Charles. Well, this is clearly a very well thought out plan and design. I'm very, very impressed with some of the design elements that you've incorporated into this project. And so very exciting for our community, especially in the rebirth of our downtown on the south side. And so very much appreciate your efforts in this regard. Did I hear you say correctly that it's 72% leased already?
I was talking about a project we just completed in Chicago.
Oh,
That
okay.
one is 72% leased.
Oh,
We
okay.
haven't started any leasing here on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Same question, though. It seems that you're really targeting a certain demographic or market with the amenities and just the design of the interior spaces. And so how would you characterize that?
You know, I think the markets are turning more contemporary. I think, buildings are offering a little bit more contemporary, designs. So I think that's in line with that. I think the type of renters we're going to see, again, young professionals, double income, no kids. We may have a few couples with young kids. We may have some retirees, people who want to be in Arlington Heights or near Arlington Heights because of family, people, downsizing. So it's literally that entire group.
Okay. I just want to comment on your willingness to provide the affordable housing, the 10%. So 30 units out of 301. I very much appreciate your willingness to do that without any objection or disagreement. And so I think Arlington Heights has really been a leader in that regard, and we very much appreciate the cooperation of our developers in trying to reach some of our strategic priority goals. It's just interesting when I have read in the paper over the past 4 to 6 weeks or so, some new high-density multifamily developments in other communities. And what's missing from those articles, those developments, is the word affordable housing. And it's just very interesting to me, that how we're sometimes criticized over our efforts in not going far enough when some communities haven't addressed it at all. And so I very much appreciate your willingness as a developer to set aside 30 units in a very high-quality development. And so we very much appreciate it. Other comments? Trustee LaBedz.
Guess I'll start. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing this project forward. I was excited when you came for early review because this, as has been said, this area is ripe for redevelopment, and I think this is a beautiful project. In a little bit of a way, piggybacking off what the mayor said in terms of target, Do you find in the project, the buildings that you have built elsewhere with these kinds of amenities, more specifically the indoor gathering sorts of things, that they get used? And the reason I ask that is I have adult kids that have lived in similar buildings, and there never seemed to be anybody in those. But when there's a pool and outdoor stuff, they're all there. So I was just curious what your experience is.
Yeah, we find that people like the co-working spaces. They like to get out of their apartment and be able to, do a conference call or something like that and be out of their space. And, the lobby area is, you see people hanging out there. We're also going to program, social events. There'll be like, Wine Wednesdays and, we do parties for, Halloween and all the different holidays. So it takes a little bit of work. I mean, there'll be like yoga classes that'll be scheduled, Tuesday and Thursday. So you have to work it and you have to kind of build a community. It doesn't always happen on its own. So you have to have kind of a sophisticated management kind of approach to it as well. And then it starts to kind of coalesce and you see people, using the spaces and stuff. So it takes maybe a little bit of time, but I love walking through the spaces and seeing them full. And so it's and people look for the high amenity kind of product. This is a product, you have to, everything is figured out in terms of the size of the unit, the amount of amenities, the parking, the landscaping, the name of the project, everything matters. This is a branded product.
Okay, that's really interesting. Thank you for that. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to have management that will help to create a community. So it's not just an apartment building, it's a community. So that to me is what it sounds like you do.
Yes.
And I appreciate that very much. Thanks. Couple other questions. So will you have 24-hour or live-in management? Like, is it like what they used to call a super in New York or whatever?
We won't have on-site 24-hour, but there's going to be, they're on call, in the evening. But during the day, there's an engineer, there's maintenance staff, there's leasing, and a property manager. So they're there during normal hours, and then during like the evenings, there's someone that's on staff, nearby.
Okay. Tell me about the fins. It has helped a lot that you showed the videos that you do, and you've brought the, is that a charrette? Is that the right word, or not quite?
Model.
Oh, model. Okay, I'm trying to use a word I learned long ago from Mr. Perkins, so. But, so, because when I read all the material, like the design commission and so forth, I was trying to picture what the fins are like. So are they three-dimensional? They kind of jut out from where they are?
They're in reality, it's a piece of aluminum. It's like a window mullion. So it's like about 3 inches wide, 6 inches deep, and they're going to be painted a bright green color that kind of depicts what grass looks like in the sunlight. It's that exact color. But it's a physical thing that's going to be coming out. So it's going to have, it'll add a texture to the building. And it's also on the chevron elevation. So there's going to be a lot of movement there with the undulating kind of chevron. And then these will be a little bit of these little accent pieces. They're going to be very subtle, but they're going to be part of the landscaping. As you're driving by, as you're walking by, they're going to be kind of, part of the trees that you see, the ornamental trees, the bushes, and the perennials that are at the low part of the building. It's all going to kind of work together.
Okay. And the entrance to the parking garage, is that in that area that you go through?
Yeah, so you can actually enter off of Algonquin Road and come here, and then that green portal is actually the entrance. And then you go inside here, and then the parking garage entrance is actually just below that. So it's nice because you come in and you're not raining or something, you're not gonna get, wet. And then on the other side, so this is a drive-through basically.
Yeah.
From our access road of the building, all the way to Algonquin Road here. And this is open, so you can see, kind of, you can peek through there.
Right, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I think that's really nice not to see a garage door on the outside of the building.
Can I have you go back to the microphone if you would?
Oops, sorry about that. And I think that is all my questions. So thank you so much. I appreciate you and your team for being here and bringing this to Arlington Heights. I am looking forward to seeing it in its entirety. So thank you.
Other questions? Trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor Hayes. Charles, could you put up that slide that showed the whole project when it's done? You had a phased design. This one here, great. So just so everybody is clear, we're talking about that. Well, I would say would be the north west corner of this L-shaped site.
That's correct.
And while this building is a pretty darn big building, not really tall by any means, but it's a big footprint. The project, when it's done, is heroic. I mean, it's a big, and I'm going to use the word wonderful, addition and change to that corner down there. I mean, this is fabulous. This is great in so many ways. I think your design is great. I think the use is great. I can't wait to see it built. I mean, it's going to be great.
Us too.
I've used that word a lot, didn't I? Great, great, great. Didn't mean to sound silly, but the project has so many unique qualities to it, and it's in space in a place that really it belongs. And so for all the work that staff did on this, I think I've heard since 2018 when this started becoming a discussion point.
Yes, that's correct. We started in 2018. A lot of the businesses on that corridor had concerns about the corridor. We met with them, had workshops, we did surveys, and then developed the South Arlington Heights Road corridor plan that the board approved later that year.
Are any of these folks part of the team that started with
Yeah,
that?
Brian's here. He's been working on this since that time.
With Bradford? Okay, wonderful.
You're going to have to come up. If you're going to speak, you have to come up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you.
It has been a long path, and Arlington Heights Charles has been great, and some of the former staff that's no longer here too. Bill Enright was great help, so go on record as saying that. But really finding a good partner has been a big part of the process. We worked with a lot of different companies trying to figure out how to work with the first big chunk, and then as we pursued this big assemblage, it's a huge undertaking. We're really exciting to do it, and Arlington Heights has been great. So
Well,
thank you very
before I
much.
let you sit down, then, since you stood up and you're partners with this whole thing, what do you think your timing is? You're here tonight with this final formal hearing process, right? Until you have to go back and get the actual formal approval. But as it will be, if it all goes your way tonight, you'll be approved tonight, and you can go forward with construction documents and go in for permits and so on. What would be your hope as far as beginning construction and then maybe even beginning occupancy in here? What would you say?
Yeah. So we actually submitted for the permit already, believe it or not.
Your construction documents are done?
Yeah, so our drawings are quite advanced, so we submitted them just to kind of, get in front of the process to make sure that we can be
You're
on time.
confident.
Well, we're not confident. We're trying to just keep moving forward. That's the name of the game here.
Yeah.
We are working on the financing, and we got a preliminary approval on the financing. And one of the requirements is to have zoning done. So that's a thing there. Our goal would be to start construction in the spring, and then it'll take about 18 months to build the building. And then, so if we start in the spring, we should complete the building towards the end of '25.
Right.
And have our leasing process start there. And again, the leasing process is going to be 12 to 18 months. So it's about a 3-year process to kind of get it done, and where it's all finished and it's filled with happy tenants.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then the last question, I won't take any more of your time. At what point in that 3-year window that you just described will you decide to either move forward or pull the trigger on phase 2? What will be your trigger there?
Yeah.
Point?
I think, once we get this approved and we kind of get a shovel in the ground, I think we would start that phase 3 submittal and work with Charles and his team on the, making that real. Because you can see the details that are in phase 1, and then phase 3 is just kind of very diagrammatic. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on phase 3 to kind of make it the same level of detail.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, it's a
yeah.
very visible building there. And I said phase 2, but phase 2 is the old Daily Herald building, and you're working on that now.
Yeah.
But that's all office space and so on, right?
Right, we're pursuing, want to do a medical office there.
Right.
So right now we have a brokerage firm as well, Bradford.
How is that going, would you say?
It's going well. So we're just starting to do showings. In fact, we have a little area inside there that we've done like vignettes of medical office space, and it's just getting done. So we're kind of slowly showing people that have been, have shown interest over the last year because we've been kind of soft marketing it. But now I think after the holidays and coming into the spring, we're really going to kind of roll out a more fully realized marketing campaign and start getting people there.
Well, thank you for your time and your commitment and, getting after it like you have here on this. Great job and best of luck to you.
All right, I'm going to go down to Trustee Baldino.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. And thank you for your presentation. I only have one question, but first I wanted to say, back in June during the early review, I was supportive of this project, and I'm still supportive of this project. I appreciate the sustainability aspects that you've incorporated in the project. As the mayor said, the inclusionary housing in it, and the quality of the design and the aesthetics of the design. You'll have to forgive me because my eyes are not what they used to be, but I'm looking at the architectural plans and the 0.5 point font that you have in here. I see that, I'll go back to the first floor plan.
This one? This first floor site plan.
Okay, yes. So I see that you have 2 loading docks there. Is that's correct?
We actually have 2 loading docks for the residential. Then we have a loading dock for each of the other retail spaces. So there's a loading dock in retail A.
Okay.
There's 2. Yeah, there's 1 there for retail C, and then there's 2 there. 1 is for the retail B, and 1 is for the residential. So we have 4 total loading docks.
Okay, so you do have loading areas for the residential.
Yes,
That,
for sure.
that was hard to see. I couldn't see it. So it is there. Basically, that was the one question that I had. Otherwise, I do, like a lot of my colleagues, support this.
Okay, Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I do as well support it, and a very good presentation from not only yourself, but staff. It answered a lot of questions. So it's nice when the presentations are so clean like this, where you can come to a meeting and not have questions. But looking at this model, I've looked at the floor plans. Having a model like that really helps. But can you show me, just maybe walking around, because I was looking at the southeast elevation. Just show me on this schematic where the parking is going to be. Is it going to be in that gray area?
Let me give you this microphone, if you will. I'm going to get in trouble.
Are you talking about the retail exterior parking?
Talking about for the residents.
Oh, for residents, so.
I know where they're coming in, but
Yeah.
what are we going to be, what are we looking at?
So we're going to come in right here,
Right.
and then we're going to take a quick left turn, and it's going to start, so this whole part is got parking underneath it on the first floor.
So
And then
that-
there's a ramping system that takes you up.
So that little, the 3-story building there.
This is all parking,
That's all
actually.
parking?
Yeah, but it looks like residential
Right.
on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And then Trustee Tinaglia was trying to get just the time frame of this, because at phase 1, I saw about 17, 18 months. Phase 2 is just internal work. You're not really doing anything to the external part of the building, correct?
The,
Old Daily Herald
yes,
building?
that's correct. Yeah, there's,
That's obviously looking a little tired, so there's a plan to enhance it. We have yet to figure out exactly the color, but we'll.
Are you
definitely
gonna
make it some
wait
spruce.
until phase one is completely done before you start phase two, or are you gonna?
No, they're they're independent, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, the office building, if we get a tenant in there and, yeah, we'll start working on that as quickly as possible.
So
if I could add on phase two, the office building, they do have a permit request to demolish the parking structure that's just north of that building. It's in poor shape, it's compromised, it's not safe. So if they get a tenant of sufficient size, they would need to, submit plans and get a special use for a new parking structure. And that's shown on the concept plan, so they're fully aware of that. They also have just received the permit for demolition of the structures right at the corner for this phase that we're talking about. So you might see fencing going up and things of that nature, right now for that piece.
So we'll be back real soon asking you for accommodations to build it.
So if everything went as planned and you started phase one and people moved in and filled up the building quickly, for the entire piece of property to be developed, if it just moved along step by step, how many years are you looking?
I would say for each of the residential phases, say the 3 residential phases, I think we'd like to have a bit of an overlap. So again, start on the zoning maybe next year sometime. And then again, it's like a 3-year process. So I would say you're talking about 6 to 8 years, depending on how that goes for the residential portion. And Brian, I think it's a market thing
Yes,
for.
that's could be entirely market driven on the medical office, but hopefully we get a big anchor tenant and then we go from there.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, trustee Bertucci and then trustee Dunnington.
Thank you. I agree also, and I'm not going to necessarily spend the time reiterating everything, but great project, very supportive, very happy about it. Just 2 quick comments, questions, quasi-questions. One is, to your point about not only does Arlington Heights need affordable housing, but it needs quality housing. And I appreciated that comment because I think we have to strike that balance and promote the quality housing in addition to the affordable housing. Did you do some studies to determine, I mean, you would have had to have done some studies, and I read a little bit about, to determine how, how much of a need there is for the quality housing in Arlington Heights?
Yeah, we did a comprehensive marketing study, Integra, which is a national firm, and they're very fluent in the northwest suburbs. Gail Listner is the appraiser that worked on this, and she knows this area very well. So she helped us determining, what the unit mix is, what sizes, and then what the price would be. And that's based on a study of all the surrounding kind of areas and what they're charging per square foot. So it's a very scientific kind of approach to what to offer, the sizes and so forth. They determined that there is a need, there's a pent-up demand for quality housing, and that we, if we provide it in the way that we are, in terms of quality, the finishes, both interior and exterior, the amenities, the fact that we have abundant parking, the location near I-90, all that stuff is in the recipe of what we're doing. And based on that, her report, Gail's report, was very positive in terms of this project and the future projects too, so.
Okay, so with that in mind, then the next question was, and I heard Charles mention that you could have gone higher in the amount of stories. And I also saw in the Plan Commission, one of the commissioners also had asked you the question about maybe in the future in one of the other phases that you guys might actually go higher as you come off the corner of Arlington and Algonquin.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I was wondering if you could just comment on that.
Yeah, so we're not afraid of doing high-rise buildings. I mean, the last, in reverse order, we did a 27-story, we did a 26-story, we did a 33-story, and a 16-story. So we're not afraid of height, and we understand that. We thought here it's better to do something that's a little bit, shorter. And I do think, to your point, phase 3 will probably be something like 10 to 12 stories. And it's appropriate from a land planner's standpoint, looking back as you go towards the highway, that makes perfect sense. So I think that's totally appropriate. And same thing with phase 4, the hotel will again be no taller than 8 stories where the hotel is, and then it could step up a little bit where the apartments are. And then it'll again step down to the parking for the medical offices, and then the Daily Herald building stepping down, and it actually steps down, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that and respect your ability to vision that and design it that way. I think that's going to be very good for not only the area, but also the visualization of the project. So with that being said, just to kind of continue to help move things along and let others comment too, though, but Mayor, I'd like to just throw a motion out there to recommend that a approval of the plan, of the PC number 23-012, a PUD to allow this 8-story mixed-use development with 24,972 square feet of ground floor commercial area, 301 multifamily residential units above, rezoning from B3, general service, wholesale, and motor vehicles district to, and I just, okay, there we go, to the B2 general business district, preliminary plat of subdivision, approval to consolidate the property into one lot, and the variations so listed.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Bertucci, second by trustee Grasse. We have a motion on the floor. Trustee Dunnington.
Thank you. Thanks again for this exciting project. It really is going to do a lot for the southern area of Arlington Heights. I love the sustainability piece, the affordable housing piece. It looks wonderful. When you mentioned the electric charging stations, is that going to be in the garage for residents, or will that be also available to people that are going to use the retail space? I would imagine that people would stop there, they would get off of the interstate to use vehicle charging.
yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we have them inside.
Okay.
We haven't talked about having them outside, but that's a great idea, actually. So we could probably have one somewhere strategically placed and do that. That's, yeah.
Okay, great. And then this is for staff. Could you just talk a little bit more about what the plan is for the intersection of Arlington Heights Road and Algonquin?
Yes, so our long-term plan in the South Arlington Heights Road corridor is to have kind of a more decorative, enhanced crosswalk at all 4 legs of the intersection. So this is a big project. There's a long way to go. We didn't want all those details to kind of hold up the zoning portion. So there is a condition that requires the developer to work with staff on that, pattern of, whatever the crossing should be, and then submit that to IDOT and then install that as part of their project for the Arlington Heights Road Algonquin intersection. The Tony Road one, that's a little bit more tricky because of the long-term improvements that would need to happen there. We hate to see money spent on a crossing and then just 3 years later that intersection gets improved. So we may look at more of an interim, just clean up the striping so it's clear to cross north and south at Tony Road and, access some of the bike routes to get around to Bussey Woods the safe way instead of trying to go under the underpass where there's no sidewalk or good crossing. So we'll work with the development team on, kind of the right fix for that Tony Road until there's that full improvement.
And so there is the possibility that we could connect to Bussey Woods?
That we've looked at it, and that's very challenging. So the village bike routes go along Gobert Road and then kind of connects up through, I think it's Carefree Park to White Oak, across to Wilkie and come down to Bussey Woods that way. There are a couple of regional bike route plans that talk about a bike path along Gulf Road from Evanston to Elgin. That hasn't been, parts of it have been installed, but it's got a long way to go before that would happen. We've also talked about some kind of bike path along Tony Road that would make it easier to connect over to Gobert for that link. Going south is very challenging. You've got the most difficult part, quite frankly, is limited right-of-way going under the actual tollway itself. You could probably get some pedestrian path in there. You might be able to get a little wider than normal, but the challenge is you've got all the exit ramps and entrance ramps on the tollway, and it's the safety. There's lots of issues with trying to go that route. I'm not saying it can't be done. A safer way is probably over the tollway, but then you're probably talking $5 million or more to go over the tollway. So that's the challenge of getting. It's so close, but it's
Right.
so far away, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. It is. Okay. Thank you so much.
Right ahead, Trustee Grasse.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment. I'm in agreement with my colleagues. I am just very impressed with the plan, with the detail, with the welcoming way that you have created this building, just welcoming for the community who will be living there, but also for the gateway into Arlington Heights. I really appreciate the details, just connecting nature and everything together to really create a community within that area. So thank you so much for that. I had, and just as with the early review, I really appreciate the butterfly gardens, the solar panels, just all of the sustainability pieces, and the affordable housing just makes it complete for me too. But I had two questions for you. With the parking garage, especially as we are going more toward electric vehicles, is there any concern with the heavier weight of electric vehicles down the road when more people may have them with the parking garage, or is that something that's kind of planned in already?
There's a lot of redundancy it's a concrete structure, so we're actually doing a concrete superstructure, so it's not like framed or anything like that. So there's a lot of redundancy in the concrete, and there's not a problem in terms of having, whether it's 6,000 pounds or it's 2,500 pounds. It's not going to be a problem.
Oh, wonderful. And really the other just main comment I wanted to make is at the very beginning of our meeting, we had the Art Commission. We had a wonderful award given to one of our own and all that she does for our community. And I so appreciated your use of the artists throughout the building, and I was hoping that maybe you could consider involving the Art Commission or getting somebody local also to be a part of the artist work that would be within your building. I think that would be a wonderful thing to tie it all together.
Yeah, they're all Chicago artists except one is from Sarasota, Florida, but everybody else is from Evanston or the suburbs from Chicago, but we'd love to talk to them. I didn't even know that existed, so happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? How about anybody in the audience? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Passman?
Mayor, if I can, I want to just confirm with Trustee Bertucci and Trustee Grasse that the motion was subject to all the conditions that are in the staff report.
Yes, sir.
I thought I heard that. I want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. If nothing further, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, congratulations. Good luck to you. Again, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have no other new business, and so we'll move on to legal. And we do have one item under legal. That's the red flag resolution, and so I turn it over to Mr. Ecklaus.
Mr. Perkins has this one as well, so I'll just
Okay.
let him go.
All right, so keep rolling. So at the last board meeting and the discussion of the project downtown 116, 120 Eastman, there was talk about the potential for what's known as typically referred to as a red flag resolution that would put developers, property owners on notice that the village is going to study certain properties. So since then, we've done a very quick look at the areas that we were asked to look at. So these are primarily on the north side of Northwest Highway, west of Vale, going to the Ridge Walnut intersection. So we took a look at those properties, and in particular, we were asked to look at properties that were Zone B5 that were adjacent to single-family that were zoned R3 residential. So there are only 2 properties in Arlington Heights that are zoned B5 and that are next to single-family homes that are zoned R3 residential. This is the first, the bank building at 234 West Northwest Highway. You can see here it is adjacent to the historic Hannon neighborhood that is zoned R3 and single-family. The other property is on the west side of Chestnut, on the south side of the tracks, adjacent to the Arlington 425 project. So on the west side of Chestnut, south of Campbell, there are properties that are single-family homes. They're zoned R3. They are designated for single-family attached on the comprehensive plan, so that's a little bit different. But in that case, the village board has approved a project there at Arlington 425 with a 5-story building on Chestnut, a 10-story on Campbell, and then a 5-story parking garage. So we didn't include that in this ordinance. So you can see the properties that are zone B5 on the south side of St. James. This site here that I'm highlighting, this is the subject of the 116, 120 Eastman that the developer moved forward with. With the rezoning of this R3 here earlier this summer, it did trigger an additional setback requirement for this property. So if a property has frontage of 50% or more that's zoned R3 or residential, then there's a required 20-foot setback. That did not apply on this property because it's not 50% or more. So this property could have had a 0 setback. And we talked a lot about that and the things that developer went through to modify their plan. This is the comprehensive plan. If anybody wanted to refer to, this is just kind of a little history. I kind of went through this at the last meeting with the Eastman project on how these sites got rezoned and designated the way they were. This aerial shows in the hatched area, again, you can see all the other zoning districts around here and then the single family to the north. This is a little clearer on the zoning map. And then this map shows the kind of 5-7 properties that we took a super quick look at, and in the memo that's in your packet outlined a few strategies or potential recommendations. So starting with item 1, that's the 234 West Northwest Highway. That's included in the proposed resolution. This is the B5 property. They could develop up to 140 feet in height. The high density for downtown, it's immediately adjacent to the residential neighborhood to the north. So this site is included in the resolution. The same with the AT&T site. It's not directly across from the single-family neighborhood, but it is the entrance to the neighborhood from the east along St. James, so including that. The third area we looked at, not directly asked to, but indirectly, we were asked to look at the properties kind of going west towards Ridge. The properties that front on West Park Place here, they've developed over many, many years. Some of them are older. There's about 21 units in that area. It is designated high-density multifamily on the comprehensive plan. It's zoned R7. So our very rough look at that is, one option would be to amend the comprehensive plan to change that designation from high-density multifamily to moderate-density multifamily. And that would be more reflective of an R6 type zoning, which is a little lower density. With an R6, you could probably get about 21, 22 units on that if they were consolidated. Mathematically, with an R7, you could perhaps get up to 50 units. So that's one strategy that could be considered. It is in the resolution to be studied, and these recommendations may change once we get input from property owners and the neighborhood and plan commission as well. The next area is the commercial property that Trustee LaBedz referenced. It's item 4, so right at the intersection of Walnut Ridge and Northwest Highway, shown here on the aerial. So there's two parcels. They're auto-related uses, probably left from the days when Northwest Highway used to be Car Dealer Row. So they are auto-related uses. There's Zone B3, which is auto-related use. In 2017, a developer did propose to rezone them to R7 for 50 units. and they didn't move forward with that. The neighborhood had concerns about that. So there are a couple of options there. You know, B3 would allow residential on the second floor and above, but it's very low density. So to change it to any other residential density would have less control by the village and would allow more density. But the back half of that property that kind of is in the neighborhood, it's kind of almost a yard for vehicles. That one option would be to look at that and potentially change the comprehensive plan on the back half of the property to R6, especially if the area 3 were rezoned or designated R6, to have some more control and allow those uses to continue. They'd be non-conforming in that area, but then a new commercial use, would have, they wouldn't be allowed under the comprehensive plan, or if it was rezoned. For rezoning, it would make it non-conforming. There may be other issues, so all of that would have to be studied. That site again is included in the resolution. The other properties along here, B2, that's probably the appropriate zoning for those uses. They are commercial and would really not allow much density on those uses. So we did not suggest doing anything on those. Item 5, this was the other property Trustee LaBedz asked about. Same developer in 2017 proposed rezoning those to R7 for 58 units. That's a small site. Again, that project didn't move forward. Since then, a different property owner has acquired it, and they've made improvements to that commercial shopping center. It is Zone B2, and it's designated moderate density multifamily, which would be lower, R6, whereas the developer was asking for R7. So our initial feeling is there really doesn't need to be any changes on this site. And so this was not included in the resolution. The board asked us to go up to Ridge and Chestnut, Ridge and Walnut, sorry. So we did look at it, but that was kind of our initial feeling on that. Then just a cleanup, there are two properties that the village owns that are part of parking lot S. When those were acquired and the parking lot was expanded, the comprehensive plan was not changed. They're currently designated single-family attached. If we're doing these comprehensive plan amendments, it really should be changed to the government or institutional designation. And then last, we did look at a quick look at the rest of downtown. And this is Campbell Street and Chestnut, and this is the Arlington 425 development. There's a parking lot and a single-family house here. This is not part of the red flag or the resolution, but could be looked at it at the same time, whether it's in that or in the resolution or not. It's currently shown as high-density multifamily on the comprehensive plan. It's zoned for R6. The appropriate comprehensive plan designation would be moderate density, which would be consistent with the R6. So we could look at that at the same time. So that was our quick look at the areas that we were asked to look at. Attorney Passman and his team prepared the resolution, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, Mr. Passman, anything else?
Yes, thank you. An excellent summary from staff. I want to just highlight the note that's on the screen now and emphasize for the board and for the public. If the board adopts the resolution, it is not, by doing so, changing anything right now. We recommended this resolution in concert with staff for legal protection, really for the protection of the neighborhoods around the area. To adopt a resolution like this formally starts the process to evaluate changing some of the zoning and planning documents in the area, and it can help protect the village in the interim period from perhaps unwanted developments of these properties that may be better suited for a change. And it'll be after evaluation of that change through the normal hearing process at the Plan Commission, they'll come back to the board for a final decision. So you can, if you are inclined, approve this tonight and have a different opinion about what should be done when this comes back to you. You may not even know what you want today for any of these properties. You don't need to know yet. This really just gets the process started while protecting the adjoining areas.
Okay, Mr. Eklund.
Yeah, just the dovetail on that, and again, this resolution only deals with those properties immediately adjacent to Eastman. Charles had a number of recommendations about potential rezonings of other properties. We're not looking for any, action tonight We're looking, just for the movement on this resolution, as Hart explained, is just about kind of putting our foot in the door. If the board is so inclined, they can direct staff to, if they don't have objection, to begin working on some of these other items. But these would all be items that would come back before the board for discussion at a later date, and these wouldn't be things that we could just snap our fingers and do. This would be a bit of work.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions from the board. Trustee LaBedz.
Well, thank you very much. I know I asked about this 2 weeks ago, and I know you've been very busy, so I was surprised, happily, to see this on tonight's agenda, that, to really start looking at these properties. Charles, can you talk about the difference between R7 and R6? Because that gets kind of confusing. And then, in addition, the high density and the moderate density, and how those zoning, the R7 and R6 apply.
Yeah, so first on the comprehensive plan, there's a high density designation and there's a moderate density multifamily designation. The high density, it's not in black and white, but translates to the R7 zoning district. If you kind of match up other R7 districts with other high density designation, the comprehensive plan doesn't actually describe what it is, so it's a little subjective. But if you match up the two plans, that's how we've interpreted it, and that's how it matches up. And then the moderate density really matches up to the R6, which is a little bit lower density, or quite a bit lower density actually, and has a lower height limit. So an R7 would allow up to 60 feet, and then a lot more units, so there's less land area needed per unit, versus an R6, which requires a lot more land area. You could go up to 50 feet in R6, so that's still relatively tall, but your density would be much lower.
Okay. So that could be maybe how many units, or does it depend on?
So it depends on the land area. So for example, you would need 2,500 square feet of land area for every 2-bedroom unit in an R6 district. And then in an R7, you would need 900 square feet for every 2-bedroom unit.
Okay, thank you. I was kind of surprised actually to see that R7 is along Park Place and across the street from Memorial Park, because it seemed to me, sometimes, I know we have talked about this over the years. I've been on the board for a long time and the Plan Commission before that, but sometimes until you really sort of see what it all means, it doesn't really hit you, or at least not me, because it would seem to me I wouldn't want high density adjacent to Memorial Park, considering how special that area is. So that's, my 2 cents. I suppose it was like that because the other side of the piece of property is Northwest Highway, and maybe that's what the thought process was at the time, but.
I think the thought process originally with the original, early downtown plans was, you had the B5 district in the core of downtown, then you had the R7 around that, and then you had the R6. And keep in mind, until recently, some of the Hannah neighborhood was R6. So,
right.
So, just east and north of the properties we're talking about was R6, then it went to R7, then down to the B2 on Northwest Highway. So that was probably the reasoning for that step down. But now the area north has changed. It's
right.
Been rezoned from the R6 to the R3. And so, it does change the characteristics a little bit of that original thinking.
Well, that's a good point. So I would definitely be in favor of the resolution to be moving forward and then to study these other parcels. On Chestnut, in that area, we have approved a plan that fits with the B5 there. But should that not, for whatever reason, not move forward, I'm not saying, I don't, and I'm not, it's not because I know anything one way or another. I'm just saying we could then also look at that since it is across the street from single-family homes, correct?
Yes, so the Arlington 425 is across from single-family homes, but they are designated single-family attached on the comprehensive plan, so it's a little bit different.
Okay.
From that point of view. Whether they'd ever redevelop as single-family attached, there is a duplex just south of the property that I was referring to here, but the rest are single-family homes along that corridor.
Yeah, many of which have had a lot of work done to remain as single-family or, being rebuilt, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason we didn't consider anything on that is because there is an approved plan unit development. There was a lot of discussion on what height that building along Chestnut should be. So we felt, trying to do anything different with that might send out, false expectations. And then, again, there is an approved plan, so
Correct.
there's not much that, the village could do if, with the approved plan being there.
Okay, all right. Well, there may be others who have comments they would like to make, but I think it would also be appropriate to make a motion to approve the resolution. Correct? That's what would be the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that is my motion.
Second.
Who was the second? All right, the motion by trustee LaBedz, second by trustee Baldino. Other questions or comments? Trustee Grasse.
Thank you. I appreciate the whole idea of the red flag, especially when there is connection to the residential homes and allowing more of a transition and really allowing for that to be a little more natural with the residential areas. Are there other places throughout the village to examine this? I'm thinking even, I know we did the overlay with Arlington Park, but the hospital, if something changes over there, or with Arlington Park on Wilkie Road, those are all residential homes across from Arlington Park. Are there other areas north and south too that might be beneficial to consider possible red flag sort of areas? Because I see that the biggest issue is when there is such a disruption to those residential homes who've been in that area, just to allow more of a transition or care taken with what does go there.
I mean, there probably are other locations that, maybe there is some incompatibility. That, would be a pretty huge undertaking to try to study every site, in the community. And then, any undertaking like this would involve meeting with property owners, public notice, any kind of, amendment to the comprehensive plan is a public hearing. If there's a village-initiated rezoning, there's all, the village would have to do all of the mailings and things of that nature. So, that I'm not saying that it couldn't be done, but it would, to look at the whole community would be, a pretty huge undertaking, and I'm not sure, how we could do that right now, but that's my answer.
Well, I appreciate that, and it is a big undertaking. I think what the light that has been shown on this is the importance of looking at the particular areas where something new is coming and making sure to involve as many of the parties as best as possible. And so I appreciate that, and we probably will have more of that to come down the road too. And I guess the one piece, it's a little different from this motion, but I still am open to staff maybe seeing if there might be ways we can ensure that more of a community or residential area is aware of what might be happening. We meet the legal notification, but if there's something really big happening in the future, if we might be able to do something more to truly inform those people before it's already in place.
Mr. Eckles.
Just a comment on your question, Trustee Grasse. I mean, I think, as Charles said, I mean, there's always the potential for conflict. And I think what makes the situation that we discussed on Eastman unique and, Arlington 425 when we had it is you had situations where there was the potential for conflict when a property owner or developer wanted to do something they could do by right. And, you know, the previous discussion that happened near the Hannah area where there was a apartment building proposed, that was gonna require zoning action in order to enact it. And so then the board has broader authority to say, no, we don't wanna change the zoning because we don't like the consequences of that. And we think most of the other issues where there's potential conflicts like this in the community are gonna be ones, and correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, where some kind of zoning action likely would have to occur that would bring this about. I mean, is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I mean, even on South Arlington Heights Road, a lot of those properties originally, when they were annexed into Arlington Heights, they were zoned R1, which is the lowest classification. So the village did have control. And then, you know, as a developer looks to redevelop, they have to rezone it, and then the village has much more control. Not saying it makes sense in some of those locations to be R1, but, you know, it may not make sense to rezone it to what the village wants, because then there wouldn't be any control, if you get what I'm saying.
I do. I
So
appreciate that
there are some
yes.
situations like that, that, you know, properties aren't really zoned how the comprehensive plan would look at. And so the comprehensive plan is really what we look to when a developer comes forward with a rezoning request. So the examples of the 2017 requests, some of them were not consistent, you know, with the comprehensive plan. The site on the northwest corner of Walnut and Northwest Highway, they request to rezone to R7. That's high density multifamily. The comprehensive plan says moderate density multifamily. So the village, you know, had control over that request. They could easily deny it without any, you know, legal negative consequences.
Thank you for the explanation.
Anybody else? Trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor Hayes. I guess I just want to clarify my position on this from a couple of weeks ago. And my initial reaction was I didn't think it was fair to kind of focus in on just one or two pieces of property. So doing what you guys have done to kind of globally look at this, it makes it much easier, much more reasonable. And I think, in my mind, I wanted to make sure that you are going to discuss this with the owners of these pieces of property. And you've made that very clear tonight. It's in all your documentation that after this resolution were to be voted on, if it goes forward, you'll contact all these owners and make sure they're aware of what our thoughts might be. And they'll have an opportunity to, you know, weigh in their opinions on it one way or another before action actually happens.
You're talking for the properties immediately adjacent in this vicinity for the red flag resolution?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's our intent is to, you know, by having this, kind of keeping our foot in the door and then having a dialogue about what to do, and that would involve conversations with, you know, various, you know, stakeholders.
Yeah.
Art?
Did you want to go
I
ahead?
was add not only that, but any hearing at the Plan Commission for rezoning any of these properties would require notice to the owners as well as to nearby properties. So they will, not only will there be conversation on perhaps a less formal basis, but they will get formal notice as required by our code.
Yeah. And I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that. The difference here is we are going through the zoning process on their property. Unlike everything else that we see and do here, that petitioner usually is the property owner or the purchaser of the property asking for our permission to do it. Here, we're actually making the first move to make it happen. Correct. And some of them might be perfectly fine with it. Others might say, well, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, we've done some village-initiated rezonings over the years. The last one comes to mind is Pine Avenue on the east side of Arlington Heights Road, and yeah, every property owner was notified and had, you know, multiple meetings to talk about it before there was even the required legal notice of the public hearing. And some were okay, and some objected, and some changes got approved, and some didn't because of all that feedback.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure it'll be the same here. There'll be lots of opinions, but I'm glad that you're going through this and looking at it more globally as you have, and that makes it more understandable and more reasonable. You touched on one specific item in your presentation, Charles, that I just happened to get aware of just about a month or so ago, and I had a discussion with Steve Hautzinger about it, and maybe he shared it with you. It's the parking yard behind the one building on Northwest Highway. If you happen to live in any of the buildings, any of the homes on in the Memorial Park area, there is a fenced-in graveyard of cars, broken down cars that don't ever move, in the back of the building that faces Northwest Highway. For any of you who live over in that area, you know what I'm talking about. It's a mess. It used to be Bob Meyer Ford when I was a kid and we moved in here, and it was actually a thriving Ford dealership. Maybe some of you remember that. Now it's just 7 or 8 or more auto repair businesses in that building, and they all have these, just horrible. It's not even a parking lot. It's just a yard full of cars, and everyone who lives over there has to look at that. And I would love to see something done to clean that up, because it just can't be very pleasant for anyone over there. You're aware of it?
Yes, aware of that one.
Okay. Is there anything that you think can be done to help solve that?
It's tricky depending on when the business was operating and how long they've been there, whether the use is, non-conforming but was there prior to, and how it was used prior to current ordinances. A bit similar to the, hillside towing situation. So, we're aware of it. Don't have a solution or answer, but we're definitely aware of it.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? All right, I do have 2 blue cards, and I think maybe one other. Is there another one over there, Becky? Did I get it? Yeah. First is Vivian Menzies. And then Tom Gaynor.
Hi,
And John Lewis. Go
Vivian
ahead,
Menzies, 212 West Fremont. Well, first of all, I'd just like to say it was really awesome tonight hearing the presentation by this developer, when it was really the appropriate development and an appropriate site. And it just looked like a wonderful development. It was so exciting to watch the process kind of be finalized and see this get approved. It was great. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to the board and the staff for the idea of this red flag ordinance. I think it's awesome that we're looking at this. It feels like such a positive step to go towards future developments that can be a win for the homeowners, the staff, the village, and everybody involved, just to make the process easier. So I'm just really, really appreciative of that. As we went through this process with the Eastman project, going to all the different hearings, there were a couple of things that stood out. One was how there are these little irregularities or places of zoning that are a bit unclear. Either they're unclear to the residents, or the developer is allowed to do something, but the residents aren't happy with it, or the residents didn't realize how an area was zoned. For example, that Park Place strip right across Memorial Park. I think a lot of us didn't realize that was zoned R7. And there's lots of history and things there. So that those zoning things make the process really difficult. And then the other part is the process itself could use some tweaking. So I'm really happy to see the red flag ordinance go in. I think it'll be a huge help. But the process itself is so difficult when residents come, and we watched other groups come in to the Design Commission. We've been attending Design Commission meetings lately and seeing other groups, and residents are so frustrated and just don't understand why they can't at the Design Commission say something about height or density. And then the project gets so far along, by the time they can say anything, it's too late. And nobody wants to vote against it by the time it gets there. So, you know, I think this red flag ordinance is a great step. I think it'll help in both those directions. I just would like to continue this kind of collaboration and see even more. You know, I think this is a great step, and I think it'll make a huge difference. And, you know, another piece that could be added to this is some sort of a preservation commission or committee that could look at some of these issues as well. So just something else to think about.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Vivian. Next is Tom Gaynor, and then John Lewis.
Greetings, I'm Tom Gaynor at 208 West Fremont. I agree with Vivian's comments. I'm here tonight to say thanks 3 times, plus 1. So first I'd like to thank the board and staff for the downzoning of our Hannah neighborhood. That's been on our list of to-dos for 40 plus years. And I think your recognition and support there has been greatly appreciated. Second is also for the Eastman project. We talked about the journey we've been on. It's been long, it's been tough, but I think the neighbors didn't get everything they wanted. The developer didn't get everything they wanted. It's probably about the right solution. And I think as tough as the process has been, I think we came up with a project that was way better than was originally proposed. So I think that's a win, which I want to thank everybody for. The third thank you is for the red flag proposal, the ordinance here. I think that will help address some of the systemic issues that we've been struggling and bouncing up against. Anytime we've got these steep gradients in zoning, it takes a special level of review and consideration. And I think this ordinance is really going to go a long ways towards thinking our way through this. I think that's going to be a really great idea. And the plus 1 is, I'm going to turn around and look at my Hannah neighbors. We're here representing, the neighborhood. But hopefully the board appreciates the collaborative and professional and respectful approach that the Hannah neighbors have taken in every single instance in dealing with issues that can be pretty emotional, pretty high in conflict. Never once did the neighbors break and get into a rant session. And I just want to say how proud I am of the neighbors, in addition to this board, in running, I think, a really great ship. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom, and we do recognize and appreciate that as well. Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Hayes, everybody else, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Like Tom and Vivian said, my wife Michelle and I, we live at 406 West Fremont. We're supportive of the red flag resolution and think that that's a good outcome from the long process with 116 to 120 West Eastman. One point we did want to bring up for the board's consideration is that, I don't know if staff can pull up, but it was parcels 4 and 5. There's one inconsistency in the comprehensive plan. So we live at 406 West Fremont, which is basically right at the junction between the yellow and the brown. They're on Fremont Street. Currently, that is a parking lot. It's zoned R3. Under the comprehensive plan, you could see it's zoned for not zoned, it's identified as high-density housing. We would request as part of any of that be converted to also either R3 or keep it R3 so that there's no change in the future. We don't expect any. Right now, again, it's active parking for the apartment complex to the west, but again, we wouldn't want that to become R7. R6 or R3 is much more appropriate for that, adjacent to our home. And also, I'd like to give a special thanks to Trustee Tinaglia. We do live right across from the parking lot for the auto body operation there. It is a bit of a problem. We would have liked to have seen some type of multifamily there in 2017. We were disappointed that project didn't go forward. I don't know what is required or allowed, but if cars are there for a decade and they don't move, it would seem that would be in violation of something. So if we could get a little bit more help and oversight from the village on that, I think that would be better. There's actually a large population of feral cats that live over there because there's a lot of rats and mice that like to hang out in those old cars. So, any rate, thank you, Trustee Tinaglia, for bringing that up, and thank you to the board for considering the red flag resolution.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience? All right, seeing none, come back to the board. We have a motion and a second. Anything further from the board? If not, roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Shirley?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Grasse?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. All right, well, thank you, Charles and Hart, for your work on this one. And we move then to the report of the village manager. Anything, Mr. Ecklos?
Just a reminder, the village offices will be closed on the 25th and 26th and the 1st, and happy holidays to everybody.
Yeah, again, I would echo that. This is our last meeting of 2023, and so just would hope that everyone can have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and Happy New Year, both my colleagues on the board, the staff, and all of our residents. And so, happy holidays, everybody. If nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for joining us tonight.